We should be looking like bearish.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, my fellow kinky people.
Today we're going to be talking about long-distance relationships.
How to make long-distance dynamics work.
Hey everyone! So obviously I do not need to tell you that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected everyone in the whole world, and the spanko community is no exception. Dan and I are very lucky in that for the first time we are in a short distance relationship. In fact, the distance might be too short. We live in a tent in the woods. But even though we are lucky here, it doesn't mean that we are totally immune from what our community is feeling and experiencing right now. We both have friends and play partners that we wish we could see, and we can't. How do we handle this social distance time as spankos?
Yeah, spankos, there's so few of us that we tend to meet on the internet. You're unlikely to find other spankos down at your local pub. Spanko friends, dynamics, relationships, these things tend to happen often, especially at first, over long distance. It's difficult at the moment.
And right now we just can't go to parties the way we usually do. We can't play in person the way we usually do. So how do we handle it? How do we live our lives as spankos in a time of social distance? I don't have all the answers, believe it or not, so I reached out to some of my very favorite spanko celebrities to get their advice. So, let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Erica Scott. So, how's everybody doing in pandemic paradise? Yeah, me too. I think we can all agree that 2020 is a complete crap fest. But in the meantime, we have a fetish that is not exactly conducive to social distancing. And if we can't meet with each other, if we can't go to parties, if we can't play, we can't travel, what? Then what can we do?
Pharaoh Spanks here. One good thing about our community, I will say, is that now we have the technology where we have a lot of social media. We have tools to use that we can meet and connect with different people. While we're meeting and connecting with those people, we might find somebody that we connect with that we want a dynamic with. But one other challenging thing about being on the internet is that somebody might be miles or states away from you. Don't let it deter you, because you still can have a great long distance dynamic. It's just all it has to do with one thing, and it's about time. Because it takes time to build trust, and it takes time to build trust and communication.
My name is Miss Rachel, and I'm a disciplinarian here in Austin, Texas. With me is my spanking partner and muse.
Hi, I'm Cassidy Lau, a Spanko switch based in Austin and Seattle. I'm a little bit bratty sometimes, but
A lot of the time. We've figured out that aside from moving in together, which is kind of what we've had to do, the basic things that you can do is make sure that the conversation that you have with your Spanko friends is there and you keep that up.
I know life gets busy, things get tough, things get hard. Whether it's FaceTime or the phone or something like that,
Twitter or chatting or whatever means necessary to do that.
make sure you're giving them their undivided attention. Try to schedule out that time, and it'll make their time more special, and it will help your connection grow a lot more.
we kept up with like video calls and
Yeah.
FaceTime
Yeah.
and texting and Twitter.
We've done some Skype and things like that. We also like to keep our vanilla conversation up as well because we think that's important. If you don't like the person that you're spanking just as a person in general, then you don't really want to spank them. We like each other. We're best friends. I think that having that type of relationship, as well as, you know, her being my spanking partner and me being her spanking partner, helps it make it work.
Hi there, I'm Princess Kelley May, also known as Miss Kelley.
I'm Stephen Lewis.
You can currently find me on my OnlyFans page, onlyfans.com/Princess Kelley. You can also check me out on my website, misskellymay.com.
You cannot find me anywhere.
Hopefully we can provide some helpful tips to make long distance relationships as successful as they can be.
It can work.
It can work. We've been together for 3 years, supposed to be getting married this September, but obviously that's been postponed. We have been living together for 2 years now in England, but we're long distance for the first year of our relationship.
When we started on this thing, I don't think either of us thought
No.
that it was going to be what it was.
No.
I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
But you know, your feelings change and your fall in love. But then you've got to make sure that the other person feels the same way, both being at the same level when you have these conversations. Because I think that's very, very important from the very beginning, because of all of the strains that are on the long distance. If you're not both on the same page, there's going to be a disconnect somewhere along the line and you're almost set up to fail. That's true of most relationships. Be honest with yourself and your partner about what you want from this relationship.
I am Pandora Blake and I make queer kinky porn, which you can find at dreamsofspanking.com. So my top long distance relationship tip is to communicate about your communication. Talk about which communication methods you prefer and find out which is the combination that's going to work best for both of you. Maybe you prefer instant messaging to exchange very short messages continually throughout the day. Or maybe you want to send long chatty emails late at night. Maybe you prefer to leave voice notes or have phone calls with the other person. Or maybe you prefer video calls. Different people prefer different things and we all process information differently. So where one person might find text the ideal medium to express themselves and very easy to read and understand, the other person might really struggle with it and really prefer audio input. Or maybe one of you feels much more comfortable being able to see the other person's facial expression as you're talking, but the other one feels really shy about showing their face on video calls. So talk about it. Figure out the best combination for the both of you. And finally, whatever plans you make with each other and whatever intentions you set, stick to them. Remote communications are all you've got if you're in lockdown in separate cities or countries, or if you can't see each other for other reasons. And so make them as important as the quality time that you would spend in person. This is your quality time. If you make a date for a phone call or a video call, stick to it. Take it seriously. Again, this can be hard if you have other commitments, but it's all you've got. So make sure you make the most of it.
I'm the last person in the world to talk about any form of technology, but Kelley introduced me to a thing called Marco Polo, which is just a way of sending a series of visual messages, particularly if your timeline is out. We were 5 hours, 6 hours?
Yeah, 5 or 6 hours, depending on that.
For a lot of at the beginning of our relationship. You can interact with each other and send little mini replies whilst you're both still awake, but equally you can send some nice visual messages for your partner to wake up to, including, if you're on the toppy side, some very scoldy messages, which are always nice to wake up to, aren't they?
Yes, they were very nice to wake up to. I'd send him a message at night when I went to bed because he was already in bed, and then he'd send me one after he got up that I got to wake up to. So.
Which is a nice way of sharing that part of your day that the other person is unconscious for.
It's not like Skype where you have to plan a time and you have to both be there doing the thing back and forth. You don't have to watch it right away and you don't have to be watching it while they're recording it. So it's kind of like text message, but with visuals. So Marco Polo, download it, highly recommend.
I would say, aside from actually having someone move in with you and being able to work with them.
Not everybody can, yes.
We started taking limited clients. We know not everyone can work together and spank people, but that's what works for us. It brings us closer and our bond closer to be able to do that.
And both understanding just the limits of each client too.
Yeah, and we have fun discussing it before we're going to meet a client, our game plan.
Build up.
Our game plan of what we're going to do. And I've also tried to put some videos out on Twitter and on Spanking too, just to help some of my clients or fans or whatever that haven't had the opportunity to get out there, just to live vicariously through what I'm doing and to let them know that I'm still here and I'm still alive. Hopefully when all the spanking parties can commence again, and we definitely understand and get it and think it was a safe call to postpone them this year. Don't be afraid to reach out before that, because we're still here and we still need it. And we know everybody else does too. We know everybody's going through a hard time right now, but just don't forget your friends, because that's important.
I would imagine some people are doing virtual play. Perhaps the top orders the bottom to self-spank while they watch, or perhaps you concoct a scenario and you act it out together virtually. This is not my thing. I know it works for a lot of people, but it doesn't work for me. But I love to read, I love to write, and I love a good spanking story. So one thing you can try with your long distance partner is writing an interactive story. It can be a real life type of scene between you two, or it can be a complete fantasy story. One person starts, writes a couple of paragraphs or a couple of pages, the recipient reads, and then adds the next section in their point of view. So you alternate points of view. You can go wherever your imagination takes you. One thing that's really good about doing this with a partner you're familiar with is you know each other's buzzwords and phrases and what each other, what you like. And so you know how to push each other's buttons and say all the right things. And it can get really hot and fun. I actually did this a few years ago. So we wrote this story back and forth, and it got to be pretty long. Then he edited it and put it all together and then ended up printing it in a book for me, which was kind of fun. But look, I know nothing will take over the real thing. We want to play. I understand that, but we have to be safe. We have to stay well.
Embrace the realm of the oral or audiovisual.
Yeah, you just have to work a little bit harder at it. I think we used to do like very elaborate role plays.
Yeah.
Via text, and so it requires a bit more effort. And it really was like a big stage. Like before we get married, before our actual wedding day, we call our anniversary the day we created these two
role-play characters that mean a lot to us.
So we did that a lot in the early days.
Yeah.
Kelley had a spreadsheet.
I did have a spreadsheet.
As hard as it is in these periods when you're separate, the actual time that you get together is precious.
I loved that. I think people have really good advice. And it's just, I don't know about you guys, but it always makes me feel so wonderfully reassured to see other spankos just living and chatting and sharing their advice. It reminds me that I'm not alone, and neither are any of us.
Absolutely.
I got so much great advice from these friends that I've actually broken all of this into 2 videos. So if you didn't see enough of your favorite Spanko celebrity, stay tuned for next time, because there's more advice for practicing a spanking fetish during a time of social distance coming soon. So stay with me.